Have you ever tried to create a budget and somehow you didn't seem to get to it? Or you created one and after some weeks or some months you just lost interest and you didn't follow through anymore? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you tips on how you can create a budget that actually works for you. So stick around and let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Finance Savvy with IBK. And today we are going to be talking about something so very fundamental to your personal finance journey and also very interesting, a topic I love. And it's, of course, you guessed it right, budgeting. But today I'm going to share with you tips that can help you create a budget that actually works for you. I know a lot of people don't really like or creating a budget because they feel it's quite restrictive. Oh, once I have a budget, I can't do anything again. I can spend money on the things I enjoy. I can do the things I enjoy. But that's definitely not true. It's all about understanding your own personal financial situation and creating a budget that is tailored to you, to your financial situation, and that will work for you. Okay, so first off, let's start with what is a budget. Simply put, a budget is a plan that you put in place to basically tell your money where it should go. So you are earning money, you have a paycheck that comes in once in a month or maybe twice a month. You need to put a plan in place to say, hey, I get XYZ amount every month. I want this portion of my income to go to my needs. I want this portion of my income to go to my savings. I want this portion of my income to go to my wants. And that way you are able to actually have a plan for your budget every month that you can follow through. Now, for me, a personal story quickly. I started budgeting about 6 years ago. And then I created a simple budget, basically something to work for me. And after some months, I realized that I wasn't just going back to it every month to actually see how I can tailor that budget to, the different expenses that arose or the different financial goals I had. I wasn't going back to it every month to see how that would actually help me achieve my financial goal. So what I did not realize at that point is that I can actually leverage my budget as a tool to help me achieve my financial goal. It's not just for me to plan where my money is going or to say, oh, I'm going to spend 50% on, rent, this and that, and then another 30% on this, and then I'm going to save 20%. No, it's to say, this is my budget for this month. I have a goal in the next 6 months to maybe save up a particular amount, or in the next 1 year to save up for a vacation or whatever it is. And I want to use this budget as a tool to help me achieve that goal. When I began to see budgeting from that perspective, tying my monthly budget to a goal I wanted to achieve, it really made sense to me. And it was something that I began to enjoy. Now, I know some months are tougher than some other months, but you would get used to it when you definitely stick to your budget and you have a goal that you're working towards, and your budget is helping you every month to get towards that goal inch by inch. So, yeah. The key to creating an effective budget is actually finding a strategy that works for you. Now, there are so many different strategies for creating a budget out there. We'll review some of those strategies, and for each one, I'll actually talk about what you can do slightly to actually make that strategy more personalized for your own financial situation. So let's start with the simple, straightforward budgeting method, and that is the 50-30-20 rule. I'm sure a lot of us have seen this, and this is one of the budgeting strategies I recommend for anyone that is just starting out, their very first time creating a budget. You don't want to be overwhelmed by all the different formats out there, or you don't want to be overwhelmed by everything that has to go into, oh, okay, this I have to plan. No. We'll keep it simple with the 50-30-20, and it's for you to get started. It's works very well for beginners, works very well for anyone that is just starting out, pretty straightforward. And I would recommend you start from here if it's your first time creating a budget. And then as you get a hang of this and you are more committed to your budget, then you can actually explore other strategies and see how that can work for you as well. So let's start. Let's take a look at how the 50-30-20 budgeting rule plays out. So it has 3 buckets, 50-30-20. The first portion of that, the first bucket, that's the 50% bucket, and that percent takes care of your needs. So when you earn a paycheck and you whatever your income is at the end of the month, you are going to apportion 50% of what your income is to meet and care for all your expenses under the 50% bucket. So things like your mortgage, your rent, your minimum down payment on your credit card, on your loans, your utilities, transportations. Basically, these are expenses that you need to survive. If you don't have it taken care of every month, then there's trouble, right? So that's what goes into your 50% bucket. So when you are doing that calculation, very simple, just the 50% of what your income is every month, and then that should take care of what you have for your needs. The second bucket is the 30% portion of the 50-30-20, and this actually is for your wants. So what are your wants? Your wants are your expenses that you can actually live without. Yes, they are not what you have in the 50% bucket that you can't actually live without. You need a place to sleep, you need food, you need utilities and things like that. So your 30% caters to expenses that you can actually do live without, but you do the hard work of bringing in the money every month. So you actually need to keep yourself motivated. You need to keep yourself encouraged. So what you have in the 30% bucket actually keeps you motivated, right? So you could have things like your spa treatments, your gym subscription, your Netflix subscription, your Amazon subscription, and similar items like that. So these are the expenses that go in this bucket. And it's good to always, have that in a budget as well. Your wants can actually change over time. So feel free to add items and remove items every month based on, what's happening in your life. Okay, so the next bucket, the third bucket, is the 20%, and this actually caters to your savings. Yes, we have to set aside something every month no matter what. And this 50-30-20 rule right off the bat just tells you what 20% goes to your savings is the minimum that should go to your savings. And I quite agree with that. So 20% every month you can set aside from your paycheck, and that goes into your savings account. So now let's talk about the tip for personalizing the 50-30-20 strategy to work for you. And that is, as much as 50-30-20 is recommended, you don't have to stick to this 100%. You can actually move things around and make things work for you. So let's say, for example, you want to go on a vacation. You've been dreaming about this nice vacation, right? To a lovely destination, and you have 1 year based on your budget. You're like, okay, maybe I can actually save up for this trip for about a year or 8 months, and I'll be good. I don't want to borrow money. I don't want to, incur my expenses on my credit card. So I just want to save up for this. But 20% that I'm saving right now would not be enough for that. So what you can do is you can get your budget, take a look at what you have, especially in the 30% bucket, right? So look at what you have in the 30% bucket and say, hey, what can I, stop paying for the next couple of months that can help me put more money towards saving for this vacation. And then you go through that and you say, okay, I could cancel this subscription. I could go without this for a couple of months just to help me achieve the goal that I have set for myself for the next couple of months, right? Your goal could also be, maybe you want to be more aggressive towards debt repayment, right? In your 50% bucket, you've already taken care of your minimum payment, but you want to put more towards that. Then you look at your budget again and see what you can work with in the 30% bucket. I usually don't recommend touching the 50%, except maybe for some reason. Maybe you're not paying rent, maybe you're living with your parents, or you're living in a place for free and you're not paying rent. Then you can adjust what you have there. But if you are paying rent or you're paying mortgage and things like that, I would not recommend really touching the 50% bucket. The 30% bucket is actually what you can really, really, really look at and see what you can reduce, what you can take out from there, and then add that to what you have in your 20% to help you save more money towards your goal of going on a vacation or putting more towards paying down your debt. So that's one tip for working with the 50-30-20 and making it more personalized for your own financial situation. The next budgeting strategy we'll look at is the zero-based budget. And this one, this one is really for the ultra planners out there. These are people that are already used to creating a budget, know how it works, they know how to move things around to make the budget work for them. And it's actually quite flexible. That's one of the major things I like about the zero-based budget. It's not for everyone, but if you know how to allocate every single dollar of your income to an item on your budget, then you can actually go ahead and use the zero-based budget. But I don't recommend it for beginners, right? I recommend it for people that actually now have a hang of budgeting. They've been doing it for a while. They know, how to make a budget work for them, how to create something flexible for them month in, month out. And they are pros. So these are I would recommend that if you are that kind of person, then you can look at the zero-based budget. And what this means is that at the end of the day, your income and your expenses, it's going to be zero. So by the time you allocate every dollar that you have in your income to all the different items you have on your budget, you're going to have a zero balance at the end of the day. So this means you are making every dollar work for you. You are getting it, to do something for you, and that's really great. So, right, if you have a goal of, saving up more money or paying down debt or whatever it is, vacation, whatever goal it is, you can always create a zero-based budget every month that you can actually tie to that goal. So you look at your budget, you look at what's coming in, you see what I want to achieve this month. So let's take, for instance, maybe you want to save $3,000, right, for the next over the next couple of months. So let's say $500 every month. And then you can look at what you have in all your categories and then see what items you could take out from your discretionary spending for the next 6 months that would help you meet your goal. And then every month you review that, right, to make sure it works for you. There could be another item you add in, another one you pull out, and your savings goal is still there, and you're making sure that what you have every month is able to help you reach your goal of saving $3,000 over the next 6 months. And once you're done with that, then something new comes up, you look at it and you say, you know what, I'll just go back to what I have for my savings, whatever portion you've put in there, and then there are other things I want to take care of. And then every month you can review and you can just create your budget that works for you every month and helps you achieve your financial goals. To create a zero-based budget is quite simple. First step is to total your income after tax. The next step is to then make a list of your expenses and then put this in different categories. So you want to make sure you have categories for all your expenses, because this will help you know which one is very important that you can't do without, and then you allocate what goes into your discretionary spending. So this is similar to what you have in 50/30, like your wants, like you can do without it, but hey, let's have some in there. And then you allocate some other items to your savings or investment category. So let's say, for instance, you have a goal that you are saving towards, maybe $3,000 for the next 6 months. That's in addition to whatever you have for your savings portion that is already in your zero-based budget. You can decide to look at what you can take out from your discretionary spending, or what you don't really need or can do without for the next couple of months, and then bring in your the item for your savings and have that in there for the next 6 months to help you achieve your goal. What I like about the zero-based budgeting is that this is really, really for someone that is an ultra planner. You are trying to make sure that, I want every dollar allocated, and I want to make sure that I stick to whatever I have laid out here in my plan. That would definitely work for you. Next is the envelope budgeting system. Now, this may sound like, who even uses envelopes these days to create a budget? I know, but then you could take the idea of what you have in the envelope system and then use that in a digital form. But the idea and the concept is what we want to talk about. And what this is simply saying is that you have envelopes, right, that you label. So rent, groceries, utilities, whatever it is, you've labeled all this, and then you allocate a specific amount into each of those envelopes. And once you're done spending what's in an envelope, then that's it. You're done. You can't pick from one and put in the other. You can't do that, right? So the envelope budgeting system is very strict. I recommend it for people that are laser focused on maybe paying down a debt, or they're just laser focused to a particular goal and they really, really, really want to get that goal and achieve that goal. The envelope system would help you make sure that once you've allocated an amount to a certain category, that's it. This budgeting method is also great for people that are impulse spenders. So people that will just go on and spend and spend and spend until they realize, okay, I don't have any more money, or it's just too much. Now I need to stop. So if you put in place an envelope budgeting system, you could say, okay, for my fun things or for my spa day or whatever category you want to call that, it's just $200. And once $200 is done, it's done. You're not spending extra money. You're not taking money from anywhere. That's it. So it's very strict. It's sort of like restrictive in a way, but like I said, it can be helpful if you're laser focused on a goal, or it can be helpful if you're an impulse spender and you're trying to curb your impulse spending, and you're trying to make sure that you have guardrails, and you're trying to make sure that you're not going overboard on things that you have planned out in your budget. So how you can make the envelope system work for you is just to create a category for what you want to achieve, whatever it is, whatever goal it is, and then that you've contributed that amount towards that, and that's it. I'm not going overboard. So this is really great for, like I said, impulse spenders. You want to curb your spending. The envelope based budgeting system would be your go-to budgeting system that would really, really help you to be laser focused on curbing your expenses and on your goals. So the fourth budgeting method we're going to be looking at is the pay yourself first. And this budgeting method makes sure that you are looking after yourself. It makes sure that you are prioritizing yourself first. You are prioritizing your goals first, and then every other thing follows. So you have your income, at the end of the month or whenever it comes in, and then you allocate a specific amount to that goal, whatever it is, retirement, savings, and then whatever is left is what you live on. So whatever is left, you plan your other expenses on whatever is left. And this can, also help you at a particular period of your life. If you just want to zero in on something, on a particular goal, and you want to stay with it till you really achieve it, and you want to be aggressive about it, pay yourself first is really good. You allocate that amount, you leave off what's rest. But of course, it's also good to know, to make sure that you can actually leave off what is left, sorry, so that you don't get into debt. You want to make sure that whatever is left after you've paid yourself first, it would be enough for you to live on. You're paying yourself first, you don't want to get into more debt, right? You're saving up for retirement, you don't want to get into more debt that you're going to repay at a higher interest rate down the line. So when you're using pay yourself first, you have to be really careful. You have to know your expenses. You have to make sure that after you've paid yourself, you can live off on what is left, and you'll still be in a good financial position. So let's do a quick recap of action steps that you can actually use to create any of these budgeting methods that we've looked at. So the first one is to know your income. You need to know how much you're earning. You need to know how much is coming in every month. Then you need to track your spending, right? Remember I said you need to get a list of your bank statements, your credit card statements. If you're on a commission-based income, you need to look at your last 6 months expenses. You need to look at your last 6 months income, so you can sort of like have an average that you can calculate based off. And then once you have that, then you need to choose your budgeting style. So we've reviewed these different budgeting styles. You need to know what works for you, right? Is it the 50-30-20? Is it the pay yourself first? Is it the zero-based budgeting where you allocate every dollar? Or is it the envelope budgeting system where you're really strict on how much you're spending in the different categories that you have? And then of course you set your goals. Remember what I said earlier at the start of this video, is that when you are able to tie your budget every month to a goal, when you see your budget as a tool that you can leverage to help you meet your financial goal, then it's gonna be worthwhile for you to create your budget every month, because you know that every month you are closer to achieving your goal. And then the last point is to be consistent. Try to be consistent. I tell you, the first couple of months, it's not gonna be you may not like it. You'll be like, no, I can't do this, it's too restrictive. How am I ever gonna get this done? I can't even save. No, just keep at it, right? If you miss a step for the first month, go again next month, and then have a goal that you're working towards, right? And make sure that you are committed. It's savings is a habit. Also, having a budget that you can work with is also a habit, right? Creating a budget every month that works for you is also a habit. And once you begin to see progress, once you begin to see yourself achieving your goals, then you're gonna get more excited every month, to creating a budget that works for you. And then you are more into your financial situation. You know what works for you. You can plan, months ahead to achieve your goals and to create a budget that works for you. So thank you so much. I hope you've learned some tips today that would help you. I would see you in the next video.